Good evening and welcome to Boston. This is Kimberly Sellers Bates, founder and president of KSTV Enterprises. I come to you each Thursday at 7 p.m. for 10 minutes with 10 tips. I'd love to hear from you. Please contact me at kbates@kstventerprises.com or 770-756-7565. Thank you for listening to us on Patreon. If you are not a subscriber, I am inviting you to do so. You can join for as little as $5 a month. And when you do join at that level, you will receive the podcast early. As a boss member, you'll receive the full KSTV experience. You'll receive interviews with successful business owners, connections, exclusive content, tips, step-by-step processes, and much more. You will not regret the information and connections that you receive at this level. Again, please sign up for a membership. People have called, sent texts, and emailed me asking, hey, these success tips that you're giving, are they for-profit companies or for not-for-profit companies? Guess what? They are for both. You know, never before in the history have we experienced such a rapid growth in the number of entrepreneurs who've decided to work for themselves. Over the past year, more new businesses were launched in the United States than in any other quarter in history. People are launching businesses like website designers, they're clothiers, they're business consultants. Listen, those applications for employer identification numbers or EIN numbers have surpassed any other years in history. There have been 3.2 million EIN numbers applied for so far this year compared to 2.7 million at the same time in 2019. Well, what do you think is the cause of this tremendous uptick? You know, when the pandemic hit, many people lost their jobs and it wasn't their fault. They realized quickly that they needed to be responsible for their own financial destinies. These people opted out of traditional workforce. They decided, look, I'm not going to look for another job. I am going to start my own company. Their commute was cut down, and then they said, you know what? I am no longer going to settle for that 3 to 4% annual raise that my employer gives me. Now, if you are one of the people who's still employed, but you also want to be an entrepreneur, don't quit your day job. Not right away. Instead, I want you to join the nearly 50 million people who have what we call a side hustle. You can actually start your business in less than 24 hours. Are you ready to join the millions of people who have taken a calculated risk and decided to start their own business? Make sure that you are ready. You know, when you start your own business, you make your own decisions. I come across people each and every day who have a desire to start their own business, but they continue to talk themselves out of it. I don't understand that. Why are you talking yourself out of it? You know, I have found 3 most common reasons that people decide that they can't follow through on starting their own business. They are lack of confidence in themselves. These are your goals. These are your dreams. I need you to believe in yourself. Another reason is a perceived lack of necessary resources. Okay, so let's break the process down and accomplish our goal with the limited resources that we have, but we can still do this. You don't have to necessarily be rich. Let's talk together and see what type of business you're trying to start and exactly how many resources you need. The third one, which is so tiring to me, is a lack of motivation. I want to be honest. Starting and growing a business is challenging. It is extremely challenging. It can be a daunting task. But you know what? You can do this. Pulling it off while you're still employed full time, that is an ideal situation because you're still bringing in an income. And I should know what I'm talking about because that's how I started KSTV Enterprises. So again, I advise you to keep your day job while you're building your side business. Your day job will provide you with a steady income so that you can pay your rent, you can buy food, you can also fund your business. Not even the sky is the limit when you make that choice to work for yourself. But first and foremost, you need to have a plan. Now, this week, you're going to have some homework to do. That's right, homework. Look, we can't get to where we're going without hard work, right? And dedication. And it's going to take some homework. Okay, so last week I talked to you all about purchasing a binder. Did you do it? Okay, I can't see your hands, but I'm going to assume that you did because you are very serious about this. I hope you purchased it because this week we're going to start to list some of the action items to take steps to achieve your goal of starting your business. Now, before you do anything, you're not going to have a million people cheering you on with this venture. So you will have to decide for yourself that this is what you want to do. So I want you to make 3 columns. In the first column, I want you to write down all the activities and commitments that you have. You know, you'll list work, fun things like watching TV, surfing the net, playing video games. Exercise should be in that list. And I'm sorry to tell y'all, but if you see my list under exercise, the number is very, very low. So that's the first column, though. We're going to list all the things that take up your time and energy. In the second column, I want you to write down the amount of time you devote to each one of those things that you listed in column 1. So for exercise, yours probably says something like, I don't know, 15 to 25 hours a week. Again, mine is much lower than that. Now, in column 3, I want you to really, really think hard and deep and think about those tasks that you can give up, that you can limit your time with. And you're going to have to make those hard decisions as well. You cannot work full time and allow other people to take away from your time of you starting your business. So you're going to have to make some decisions. After you've done your list, I want you to really think about what you're naturally good at. For those of you who don't know what type of business you want to start, this is an important step. So whatever business you decide on, you'll have to make sure that this is something that you're actually good at. So Kim Sellers Bates, I'm talking in third person about myself, could never, ever start an accounting firm because I am not good with numbers. I am not good with budgets and all those kind of things. So I quickly learned a lesson and hired someone to handle those aspects of my company for me. So again, whatever business you decide on, make sure it's something that you're good at, okay? Now, I'm going to share some best practices to help you avoid creating a situation that will jeopardize your day job. As many paths to entrepreneurship as there are entrepreneurs in this world. So I want you to take these steps into account. You'll be well on your way to being your own boss, okay? First, make sure you're not building a business that competes with your current employer. For instance, if you work at a temp agency and you're thinking of starting a temp agency for yourself based on your experiences at your current job, you may want to rethink that as a side hustle idea. See, if you start the exact same business your employer is running, you may have clauses in your contract that will automatically terminate your contract with them because they don't want to be competing with their employees for business. It may seem tempting to create a better version of the company you're currently working for, but unless your employer missed some major lessons along the way, your contract probably clearly stipulates that you've agreed not to do that. You know, plus it's just a bad idea. It's a bad practice. Actually, it will destroy a lot of relationships that could possibly be helpful for you in the future. Most companies are really keen on making an example of current and former employees who set up competing businesses, especially if there's any suspicion of poaching previous clients. To that end, make sure you know your company's policy on employee-owned businesses. Many companies actually have formal practices about employees operating a business on the side. If you didn't ask, or weren't briefed on this during your intake or interview or onboarding process, it may be worth giving the employment contract a thorough read. If you're still unsure or there's no clear mention on the subject, it's also probably worth asking someone who knows the answer to this within the company. Understand all of the agreements you signed. When you started your job, you likely signed several agreements, including an employment contract, non-disclosure agreement, and non-compete clause. Examine each of them carefully, and if there's anything you're unsure about, it's worth a small investment to even have an attorney look over it for you. So, if you signed any agreements in the past, I really encourage you to check them out and read them and make sure you fully understand them. I've heard from other entrepreneurs that they learned this lesson the hard way. After receiving the threat of legal action from a former employer who claimed they breached their employment agreement, that's not a good look. So let's make sure that we look at everything. Now, I know this one seems obvious, but please don't work on your business during company time. While this kind of seems like a no-brainer, it's without a doubt one of the most commonly violated principles of launching a side business. It often arises out of not properly managing your time during the workday, or feeling like you're not making enough progress on your business and having a high level of dissatisfaction with your current job. I get it, but you need to exercise extreme discipline when it comes to this. The third tip to avoid getting fired is make sure you don't schedule anything from your side business during your day job work hours. For instance, it can be easier to schedule a client call, write a couple of emails, or do other tasks on your side business while you're at your day job if things are slow. If your employer finds out you're building a side business when they're paying you to work for them, that is a quick recipe to get fired. Although it really can be tempting to do this, reserve those things for your business after your day job or even before you go to work. For me, I used to schedule phone calls, return phone calls on my personal cell phone on my lunch hour, but I was always away from the office when I did that, so I wasn't physically in the office when I was returning phone calls. Also, just like you shouldn't use company hours to work on your own business, you also need to refrain from using company resources on your personal project, no matter how tempting that is. This includes please don't use your work computer, any online tools, the software, subscriptions, notebooks, or even asking one of your employees for assistance, like asking the receptionist, hey, can you make some copies for me? Just don't do that. So if you really need to print something off or, need to get this software or whatever you need for your side business, I strongly encourage you to go ahead and make the investment and just buy it yourself, okay? Finally, and perhaps the most important one, don't let your performance slip. Make sure you can get enough sleep at night so that you can function properly in your day job. It can be easy to get carried away working on your side business late into the evening, especially if you're passionate about it, and I know you are, and that's really, it's such a great thing to be passionate. However, if you're doing this constantly, it's going to wear you down. So you're not going to get the proper sleep you need, and it's ultimately going to reflect in your day job. And while you may think, okay, it's fine for me to show up a little bit tired at work, trust me, your employer won't think so. And you should really begin the amount of rest at night you need so that you can operate properly, not only at your day job, but at your evening side hustle as well. So I want you to follow this advice, and pretty soon you will be the boss, calling your own shots. Okay, so now I want you all to make that list for me this week, and I want you to send it to me, or at least be ready to discuss it next week. 3 columns: how you spend your time, how much you spend your time, and what you can kind of limit your time doing. I want to thank you again for tuning into Boston. Please subscribe to my podcast on Patreon. We have 3 affordable levels, and you will not be disappointed. I want you to be a success. So I come to you every Thursday night at 7 p.m. for only 10 minutes, guys. We're doing this in 10 minutes. I'm giving you tips, talks, and motivation to achieve your goal. Sign up to follow me on Patreon. The levels are $5, $10, and $20. This is Kimberly Sellers Bates. I'm the founder and president of KSTB Enterprises. Find me on Patreon at KSTB Enterprises LLC. I would love, love, love to have you follow me. And I also want to hear from you. So contact me at kbates@kstbenterprises.com or 770-756-7565. Next week, we are going to map your game plan to actually launch your business. So you want to be tuned in at 7 p.m. next Thursday on Patreon, KSTB Enterprises. You'll be amazed at what you attract when you start believing in what you deserve. Vibe higher, guys.